Should I or shouldn't I? A lot of us are presented with this dilemma of contemplating whether or not we should go forth through a course of action with really small scale decisions like, should I eat an omelet for breakfast or should I stick to my oatmeal that I have every day? Or really big, really big large scale decisions like, should I go through with this job offer or should I start my own business even if it means risking it all, right? So there are so many decisions we have to make every second of the day, really. We're always presented with choices and we're always having to make decisions. In a previous video that I've made, I said that in order to get out of your own way, get out of your head, and out of this place of being stuck and in analysis paralysis, you need to just take action. You need to do opposite of what's mental and do something physical, which is taking action. That way, you have data to draw from, whether or not it ended up being a good decision or ended up being a bad decision, right? You need data because that's what's gonna give you confidence later on to know that you're making good decisions. But what if you're still not convinced? What if you're still too hesitant to take action and you're one of those neurotic people like myself who really likes to think through things and can't help it, right? You can't help seeing both sides of a situation, both sides, the good and bad of two options that you have or three options, however many options for a decision you have to make. And you just love being in that gray area because to you think that's being cautious and you think that's moving about life in a very logical way, right? Because you're always thinking instead of doing. And that's comfortable for you. You can't help it. That's what feels comfortable. Well, in Clearly Catie's podcast episode, she has this episode called Should I or Shouldn't I? And she says that for people who are stuck in this place of inaction and are getting in their own way by getting in their own head too much, she invites you to ask yourself the following question whenever you're presented or you ask yourself, should I or shouldn't I? What are your reasons? What are your reasons? And do I like my reasons, right? So with the second question that you ask yourself, do I like my reasons? A lot of us, when we're confident in a decision we want to make, because, we're trying to be fast about it, or we feel sure about it, right? We trust the first answer we give ourselves. And this is a mistake. You shouldn't trust the first answer you give yourself. If you're like, yes, I'm confident in the decision I'm making. It could be lying to yourself because you really have to get to the root of why you want to make a certain decision, right? You need to get to the core and the root because the immediate answer that you give yourself isn't always the genuine one. So let me give you an example to kind of paint this in a better picture. I'm just gonna give a personal example actually. Say that you have bad forehead acne like me in the past, not now. In the past I had really bad forehead acne and I was like, you know what? I wanna get bangs. And I convinced myself that the reason why I wanted to get bangs is because I just wanna try a new hairstyle. I think I need to switch it up. Bangs are trending now, so I think with my face shape, it could be cool. And that was the lie I was telling myself when really the truth of the matter was I just was insecure and I wanted to find a way to run away from my insecurities and patch it up with a Band-Aid, even though that's not the best solution, right? Even though that's not allowing me to accept myself for who I am. And how do we know? Okay, so from that example, I knew that not going forth with getting bangs was the right decision because I knew I didn't like my reasons. I figured out, okay, I don't like my reason for getting it because I know it's actually rooted in insecurity. And the reason why I know it's rooted in insecurity is because it's not gonna be in line with my values. That's the second part, is knowing your values. And if I value self-acceptance, then this really isn't accepting myself, is it? It's not really self-love. It's just a cheap remedy for something that has a bigger wound. So that's not gonna be, a good solution long-term because I'm still gonna feel insecure with the bangs, right? I'm gonna find a new insecurity or just end up feeling guilty and shameful that I had to do that in order to feel better about myself instead of just embracing my acne. So those are the components, right? You need to ask yourself, what are your reasons? Do I like my reasons? Don't believe the first answer you give yourself. And then from that, you need to ask yourself, what are my values? And is the choice that I'm choosing to make in line with my good values? And according to Mark Manson in his book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a, you know the word, I can't say it. He says good values are the following. It has to follow 3 criteria. Socially constructive, right? You're giving back to humanity, you're adding value, and you're being beneficial to society, and you're also being beneficial to yourself, right? You're prioritizing your needs, and you're making sure that you have reached, all of Maslow's steps in his hierarchy of needs, right? You need so that you're able to achieve self-actualization. You have to make sure that it's fulfilling for you and fulfilling for others. So socially constructive, reality-based, able to be fulfilled, that's what that means. And that it doesn't rely on any external variables or outside forces. You yourself are able to fulfill this. Because if it's dependent on something else, then you're never gonna feel good about yourself, because you're always going to be comparing yourself to something else if you're dependent on something else because it's outside of you, right? So we want to make sure that it's something that we're able to fulfill ourselves in real time and it's beneficial to society and ourselves. So that's how you know what good values are. Really spend time to write down what your values are, because once you know your values, you're better able to know whether or not you like your reasons. And once you have the confidence to know for sure if you like your reasons or if you don't like your reasons, you can move in a place of action instead of in this gray zone where you're in analysis paralysis and you think you're getting in your own way, right? We want to be moving about in our lives and make our lives easier. And if we have this habit, then there's a formula involved, which will make our life a lot easier in moving about life and making decisions. So I hope this video helps, and thank you for tuning in.